Have you ever stood in a moment where heaven felt completely silent? Where your prayers rose like smoke into the darkness but seemed to disappear without an answer? Where you cried until no strength remained, waited until your heart ached, and still nothing shifted? If you're walking through that season right now, don't lose hope, because when God is silent, it never means he is absent. When God delays, it never means he has forgotten you. His silence is not rejection, it is preparation. And when God finally breaks his silence, he does not murmur. He speaks in power. He thunders the storm of your despair with miracles so clear, so undeniable, that you know only God could have done it. The silence of God is one of the greatest tests of faith. It removes every illusion of control. It forces you to listen with your spirit instead of your ears. It humbles the heart that tries to rush God and strengthens the one who chooses to trust him. Many people give up during the silence. They assume silence means God has turned away. But the wise understand that silence often comes right before the miracle, right before the breakthrough, right before the shift you've been praying for. Silence is the stage being prepared. It is the invisible hand of God aligning every detail behind the curtain of your life. You may not hear him right now, but he is speaking in ways deeper than words. His silence is not weakness. It is strategy. When God is silent, he is revealing what is inside you. Anyone can praise when blessings are visible. But can you trust him when the heavens go quiet? Can you walk by faith when the path disappears? Can you believe God is good when nothing around you makes sense? These are the questions that shape your destiny. God does not stay silent to hurt you. He stays silent to purify you. He removes the noise around you so your soul can hear his quiet assurance that he is still in control. He hides his voice for a moment so you can learn to stand by faith, not by sight. Look carefully at your life. The moments you thought God abandoned you were often the moments he was closest. Think about the doors that shut, the relationships that ended, the opportunities that slipped away. You cried, you prayed, you pleaded for answers. But now, can you see the truth? His silence was protection. His silence was mercy. His silence shielded you from what would have broken your peace. His silence was preparing something far more beautiful and far more perfect than what you were asking for. God's silence is never punishment. It is protection. And when he finally breaks that silence, the miracle that follows will speak louder than every prayer you ever prayed. Sometimes God's silence is his command for you to be still, to stop running, stop striving, stop trying to fix what only he can fix. When God stops speaking, it is not abandonment. It is an invitation to listen, to quiet your heart and let him take the lead. Because the more we try to control what belongs to God, the longer the silence must last. But the moment you surrender, when you finally whisper, God, I don't need to understand. I just need to trust you. That's when everything begins to shift. That's when the silence starts to crumble. And when it breaks with power. One word from God can accomplish what years of your effort never could. Understand this. God often speaks the loudest through what he allows. Through delays, through closed doors, through losses that force your heart to depend on him alone. It is in the confusion, the aching, and the waiting that your spirit becomes sensitive to his timing. Silence teaches you that blessings are not earned by speed, but given by purpose. So when the silence lingers, never mistake it for neglect. God is not ignoring you. He is aligning every detail for the exact moment it needs to unfold. If he answered too soon, you would not be ready. If he opened the door too early, you might not have the strength or wisdom to walk through it. So he remains silent, not because he cares less, but because he cares too deeply to give you anything short of his best. There is something holy about the silence before a miracle. It is a calm before heaven moves. It is a stillness before God speaks life into your situation. Think about the darkness before dawn. The world is silent, not because it's dead, but because it's preparing for light. And when the sun rises, everything changes. The same is true for you. You may be standing in darkness, wondering if the light will ever return. But within that silence, God is crafting a sunrise that will chase away every shadow. And when he speaks, it won't be a small improvement. It will be a complete transformation. The reason silence terrifies so many is because it exposes the true condition of our faith. It reveals whether our trust rests on God or on our feelings. Anyone can praise when blessings overflow. But when heaven is quiet, when the answer delays, that is the moment your faith is tested and proven. God's silence separates the faithful from the faint-hearted. It refines your faith until you can boldly say, even if I hear nothing, I still know God is working. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith attracts miracles. There are seasons when God's silence feels almost unbearable. Nights when you pray until your voice breaks, begging for an answer, yet all you receive is stillness. Moments when you feel forgotten, overlooked, invisible. But hear this clearly. God sees every tear that slips down your face. He hears every unspoken cry hiding behind your words. He is not ignoring you. He is watching, listening, and preparing the moment when His power will erupt into your life. The silence you feel is the pause before the promise. It is a sacred space between your request and God's perfect response. And when God finally speaks into that silence, the miracle will not only answer your prayer, it will heal the wounds you carried while waiting. Sometimes a miracle doesn't look like what you asked for. Sometimes His silence feels harsh because you cannot see what He is shaping. But when the answer arrives, you'll understand. His silence wasn't cruelty, it was craftsmanship. He was creating something far beyond what your mind could imagine. God's silence is His workshop. It's where He molds your character, deepens your roots, and strengthens your faith so you can carry the blessing that's coming. And when He speaks, He will not simply meet your need. He will surpass it. Think of a seed hidden beneath the soil. It's dark. It's quiet. It appears lifeless. Yet in that silence, something miraculous is happening. Roots are forming. Strength is growing. Life is taking shape in secret. And when the time is right, that seed breaks to the ground transformed by what happened in the unseen. That is exactly what God is doing in your silence. You may feel buried, but you're not buried. You're planted. You may feel forgotten, but God is nurturing you in the hidden place, away from distraction, away from noise. And when He speaks, the miracle will rise out of that silence, undeniable, unstoppable, and everyone will witness what He was doing all along. God never wastes silence. Every quiet season has purpose. Sometimes He withdraws His voice because it is the only way to draw your heart back to Him. In the constant noise of life, we drift. We fill our minds with worry and our days with distractions. But when God becomes quiet, suddenly nothing else satisfies. Suddenly your heart longs for Him again. His silence pulls you closer, teaching you to rely on His presence rather than His performance. And when your heart finally realigns with His will, His voice returns, not as a soft whisper comfort, but as a bold declaration of destiny. The miracle you are waiting for is not only about changing your circumstances, it is about changing you. God is far more concerned with the transformation of your character than the quick alteration of your situation. The silence is shaping you, strengthening you, deepening your trust. Because when the miracle arrives, you must be strong enough to carry it. You must be grounded enough to guard it. You must be humble enough to give all the glory back to God. That is why He has been silent. He has been crafting you into someone capable of holding the weight of His blessing. There is a divine rhythm to God's silence, a rhythm of waiting, trusting, maturing. Every delay is wrapped in purpose. You may not understand it now, but one day you will thank Him for every unanswered prayer, every quiet season, every moment that forced you to walk by faith alone. Because in those very moments, God was not punishing you. He was positioning you. He was clearing the way for a miracle so extraordinary that only His voice could release it. When God finally speaks after a long silence, everything shifts instantly. The walls you thought would never move collapse. The chains you believed would never break fall at your feet. The doors that stayed shut for years swing wide, as though they were waiting for this very moment. The impossible becomes possible simply because God spoke. When God speaks, creation responds. When God speaks, storms dissolve. When God speaks, miracles take form. His voice carries authority that no force on earth can resist. And when He breaks the silence over your life, the same voice that breathed galaxies into existence will breathe breakthrough into your situation. So do not let the silence discourage you. Let it strengthen you, because the longer the silence, the greater the miracle that follows. The deeper the stillness, the louder the revelation that is coming. God has been quiet because he is preparing to speak in a way that cannot be misunderstood. And when he finally speaks, it won't just answer your prayer. It will silence your doubts. It will prove that every tear, every delay, every lonely night was preparing you for a blessing beyond anything you imagined. So stand still. Stay faithful. Keep believing even when heaven seems silent, because faith is not the absence of silence. It is a confidence that silence does not mean God has stopped working. God is never inactive. Even when you cannot see it, he is weaving details together, arranging divine connections, softening hearts, redirecting paths, and opening doors you don't even know exist. The silence you feel is not the end of your story. It is a chapter where God prepares the most unexpected, breathtaking plot twist. And when he speaks, the miracle will unfold so clearly, so undeniably, that no one will question his hand in it. Maybe you prayed for years, for healing, for breakthrough, for a sign, and all you've met is quiet. You've wondered if your prayers even rise beyond the ceiling. But what if the silence is not God's denial, but his design? What if he is allowing the quiet so that when he finally moves, every eye will see that it wasn't chance or luck or timing, it was God and God alone. Silence ensures that when the miracle comes, all glory returns to him. There is great power in waiting. Silence tests your patience, but also prepares your praise. Because the ones who have walked through long seasons of waiting know how to worship with fire in their spirit when the miracle arrives. They don't take blessings lightly. They know the cost of endurance. They know the ache of praying with no answer. And because of that, their gratitude is deeper, their joy is fuller, and their faith becomes unshakable. God is not only preparing a miracle for you, he is preparing you for the miracle. And when God speaks, it isn't always through words. Sometimes he speaks through events, through unexpected people, through moments that seem ordinary but carry divine significance. A door opens when everything said it would stay shut. An opportunity you thought was gone returns with new favor. A situation that looked hopeless begins to shift in your favor. These are not coincidences. These are God's voice in motion. His miracles are his messages. His blessings are his sentences. His timing is his punctuation mark. And when he speaks through your breakthrough, it will rewrite the entire story of your pain. Revelation is coming. The prayers that seemed ignored have reached their appointed hour. The tears that fell in secret have watered the soil of your miracle. God's silence is breaking, and his voice will thunder through your life with power, favor, restoration, and peace. The very place where you felt the deepest pain will become the ground of your greatest testimony. Do not let despair convince you that silence equals defeat. God is not finished. He is about to speak. And when he does, you will understand why he waited. You will see how every closed door was necessary, how every delay protected you, and how every season of quiet strengthened your spirit. God's ways are higher than yours, and his timing is far wiser than any plan you could make. His silence was never neglect. It was perfection in progress. He has been preparing the stage for a miracle that will not only change your circumstances, but elevate your soul. When God speaks through a miracle, it is unmistakable. No one can claim it. No explanation can replace the awe. You will know without a shadow of doubt that it was God and God alone. The same silence that once frightened you will become your testimony. You will say, if I had not gone through that silence, I would never have known the depth of God's power. For it is only in silence that faith takes root, deep enough to carry the weight of the miracle when it comes. So lift your eyes. Do not fixate on what you cannot hear. Focus on what you know, that God is faithful, that his word never fails, that his silence does not mean he is absent. Keep walking even when you hear nothing. Keep believing even when you see nothing, because soon the silence will shift. The voice of God will echo through your life in ways beyond your imagination. And when he speaks, the very ground beneath you will tremble with his power. God has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. He is about to speak into your life with undeniable clarity. The miracle is already forming. The answer is already written. The blessing is already prepared. The silence was only the space between your prayer and its fulfillment. And when that fulfillment comes, it will arrive suddenly, overwhelmingly, gloriously, leaving no doubt that God alone orchestrates every moment of your life. You will look back on this season of silence, not with bitterness, but with gratitude, for it is in the silence that your faith was born. It is in the silence that you discovered who God truly is, not only the one who speaks, but the one who sustains you even when you cannot hear his voice. God's silence is never empty. It is filled with promise. It is filled with power. It is alive with unseen movement. And even now, though you cannot hear it and may not yet feel it, the silence is trembling because God is about to speak. When he does, the miracle will resound far louder than the silence ever did. When God remains silent for long periods, it often signals that something extraordinary is about to break forth. Silence is not a lack of activity. It is preparation. It is a space where destinies are shaped, promises are refined, and faith is proven true. God does not rush his work. He does not act hastily. When he moves with perfection. And when he finally speaks, his words carry the weight of heaven. They shatter barriers, lift burdens, and awaken a life that seemed dormant within you. Understand this deep in your soul. Silence is never a sign that God has left you. It is a sign that he trusts you to endure the unseen. He trusts you to hold on when his voice is not audible. When God hides his face, he is teaching you to trust his hand. When he withholds words, he is testing your heart. For it is in silence that faith grows without proof. And it is in stillness that the Spirit learns to hear. The noise of the world can drown out the whisper of God, but silence clears the way so you can hear his true voice when it finally comes. Every great move of God begins in quiet. Before the dawn breaks, there is a stillness of night. Before the river bursts forth, there is the stillness of the dam. Before life begins, there is silence in the womb. God's pattern never changes. His silence is always a sign that creation is taking place in the unseen. And when the time is right, what he has been forming in the dark will suddenly emerge into light. Do not despise the silence. It is the soil in which miracles grow. Many people lose faith in the waiting. But the quiet is not empty. It is alive. It is where your spirit is being prepared, where your faith is being tested, and where the miracle you've been praying for is taking root. But those who understand the ways of God know that delay is not denial. It is divine strategy. He delays to protect you from premature blessing. He withholds to prepare you for holy abundance. When God is silent, it means he is aligning every detail of your life with his greater plan. If you could see what he is arranging behind the curtain, you would not complain about the silence. You would worship through it. While you pace and worry, God is placing the pieces that will build your miracle. Some of you have been in that silence for years. You've prayed with tears, and the heavens seem closed. You've questioned your worth, your purpose, even your existence. But I tell you this, your silence has not been wasted. God has been watching every sigh, recording every tear, weighing every thought. He has been shaping you into someone capable of carrying what he is about to release. The silence has never been a prison. It has been a process. And when God breaks that silence, it will not just change your season. It will change your life. There is a sacred weight to divine timing. When God finally speaks, everything he has promised will rush in like a flood. That is why he waits, so that when it happens all at once. There are moments when God moves slowly, but there are also moments when he moves suddenly. You may have waited for years, but when his appointed time arrives, your life can shift in a single day. The same silence that tested you will become the doorway to sudden acceleration. Do not let impatience destroy your promise. Many abort their miracles because they cannot endure the quiet. They try to force what only God can complete. But faith is not only believing that God can act. Faith is trusting him when he seems silent. It is holding on when there is no evidence. It is saying, even if I hear nothing, I still know God is working. That kind of faith shakes the heavens. That kind of faith makes the silence holy. Silence also separates the genuine from the counterfeit. When God is silent, the pretenders drift away. Those who seek him only for blessings lose interest. But those who love him for who he is, not for what he gives, draw nearer. That is why the silence is sacred. It reveals the true worshipers. When you can say, God, I still trust you, while your prayers seem unanswered, You have touched the very heart of faith. You have arrived at the place where miracles begin. Sometimes God's silence is his way of letting the enemy believe he has won. He allows the enemy to mock, to taunt, to think victory is theirs, just before he strikes with unstoppable power. The silence of God often comes right before the defeat of your greatest opposition, because when he speaks, he does more than comfort you. He confounds those who doubted you. The silence makes the miracle undeniable. It becomes living proof that what you receive is not by human effort, but by the hand of God himself. You may not realize it now, but this season of silence has been training your spirit for clarity. When God finally speaks, you will not confuse his voice with another. You will not mistake human counsel for divine direction. The quiet has sharpened your hearing, purified your discernment, and humbled your heart. It has burned away distraction so that when the miracle arrives, you will recognize it instantly. You will not attribute it to luck or chance. You will know, deep in your bones, that it was God. There are moments when silence feels heavy, like an invisible weight pressing on your chest. You long for answers, but all you hear is stillness. You want light, but the sky remains gray. Yet even in that heaviness, God is present. He is teaching you to walk by faith, not by signs. If he spoke too often, you rely on his words instead of his presence. Sometimes he is silent because he wants you to stop seeking direction and start seeking him. When you do, his voice returns not merely as words, but as power. Listen to this truth. When God breaks his silence, he often does it through the very thing that caused your pain. The wound becomes a window for his glory. The place of rejection becomes the place of elevation. The situation that looked like failure becomes the soil of triumph. This is how God works. He uses the silence to shape the vessel, then fills it with miracles so magnificent that no one can deny his craftsmanship. Silence builds endurance. It teaches you to keep walking when you cannot see the road. It teaches you to keep sowing when the field looks barren. It teaches you to keep praying when your voice trembles. And endurance produces strength, clarity, and a readiness to receive what God has prepared beyond your imagination. By the time God finally speaks, you are no longer the same person who began this journey. You have been refined. You have become resilient, anchored, and unshakable. That transformation, what God does within you, is a true miracle, far greater than anything he does around you. When the silence ends, do not be surprised if God answers in unexpected ways. He may not respond to the question you ask. He may reveal something deeper than you imagined. You may pray for a door to open, but he may build you an entirely new house. You may ask for a way out, but he may give you wings to rise above. God's answers rarely look like what we expect, but they are always exactly what we need. The silence was never random. It was a birthplace of something far beyond your imagination. So if you find yourself in that quiet place today, do not panic. Do not assume God has withdrawn his favor. The silence may actually be your sign, a sign that God is near, not far, a sign that he is preparing to reveal something that will forever change your understanding of who he is. The greatest revelations often come after the longest silences. When God speaks, your confusion will turn into clarity. Your mourning will turn into joy. Your fear will turn into courage. You will see that every silent moment held meaning. And when that moment comes, when God's voice finally breaks through, everything you endure will make sense. The silence will suddenly feel brief compared to the magnitude of the miracle that follows. Every tear you shed will become fuel for gratitude. Every whispered prayer in the dark will become a testimony of triumph. The silence will fade into memory, but the miracle will echo for a lifetime. So hold fast. Do not let go of your faith in this quiet hour. Let the silence purify your heart, not poison your hope. Because right now, as you wait, God is writing a story that will leave you in awe. You will not just hear his voice, you will see his hand. You will not just receive a blessing. You will become a vessel of blessing. The same silence that once tested you will one day testify for you. It will declare, God was silent, but then he spoke, and everything changed. And when that moment comes, your heart will overflow with a peace that words cannot capture. You will look back and realize God's silence was never punishment. It was his way of preparing you for the miracle that only silence could birth. Because when God speaks after silence, he does not just restore, he multiplies. He does not just answer, he transforms. He does not just reveal, he reignites your very soul. So wait in faith. The silence is sacred, and the voice that is coming will be holy. Hear this truth as it settles in your heart. You are standing on holy ground, even in your silence. The same God who shaped the mountains and calmed the seas has been shaping you. The same God who governs the stars has been governing your story. You may not have understood his silence, but it was never without purpose. Every delay, every unanswered prayer, every quiet night when you felt forgotten was a sacred part of your becoming. You are not abandoned. You are being refined. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The silence that once made you tremble is about to become the testimony that strengthens others. Now is the moment to lift your heart. Do not let the weight of waiting snuff out the flame of your faith. Stand firm and say, God, I will trust you even when I cannot trace you. I will believe even when I cannot see. That is the kind of faith that moves the unseen. That is the kind of faith that opens the heavens. When you choose to believe in the middle of silence, you are not just proving your devotion. You are declaring to the world that God is still worthy, no matter what. That declaration shakes darkness. It challenges every doubt, every fear, every force that tried to silence your faith. God is still in control, and his voice will speak again. So search your heart tonight. Ask yourself, what has God been teaching me through the silence? Has the waiting made me bitter, or has it made me better? Have I stopped listening because I grew tired? Or am I still expectant for his whisper? God is calling you to awaken again, to rise above the noise of disappointment, and to listen for the stillness that carries his power. The silence was never empty. It was filled with his presence. It was God saying, be still and know that I am here. Let your faith rise again. Let your spirit stand tall, even if your circumstances have not changed yet. The silence does not mean the story is over. It means the author is about to write something beautiful. Lift your eyes toward heaven and surrender everything you cannot control. Say within your heart, God, even if you stay silent a little longer, I will not stop trusting. I will not stop believing. I will not stop waiting. That surrender is not weakness. It is power. Because when you finally yield to God's timing, his power begins to move freely through your life. And when you walk out of the silence, walk out renewed. Walk out with purpose burning in your heart. Walk out with faith that no storm can shake. Let the silence that once scared you become your foundation. Let it remind you that you serve a God who is never too late, never too far, never too quiet to care. Let it remind you that your hope was never in people, never in outcomes, never in time. Your hope was always in God. He alone is your source, your strength, your unchanging anchor in every season of silence and every burst of revelation. Go forward now, not in fear, but in expectation. Lift your head, open your heart, and trust that the God who is silent is still speaking. Through your faith, through your endurance, through your willingness to believe, every breath you take in faith rises as a prayer before him. Every step you take in obedience becomes a seed that will bear fruit in its appointed time. The silence will break. The miracle will come. And when it does, you will know that the one who held you in the quiet has now spoken with power into your life. In that moment, you will not boast of your strength or patience. You will lift your hands and declare, God, you were there all along. Because he was, he is, and he always will be. So hold on. Stay faithful. Let your heart remain steadfast in his promise. For when God has been silent, he has not been still. And when he speaks, every part of your life will know he is God, he is faithful, and his timing is perfect.